We are back with another conversational pace trail shoe review. We have what is my very possibly be the most like polarizing trail shoe that we've reviewed so far. It is a new brand to the trail shoe industry, not to trails in general. This is the Naked TR, T-R, T-Rail. Finn, do you know what the TR is?
It stands for Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh.
I wish. I think I looked it up on the website, Naked T-R trail racing shoe. And I'm guessing TR stands for trail racing, but they've included the acronym and trail racing after. So
the little R is racing, not just the other rest of the word for trail. I thought it was just like T-Rail. But
I know.
Trail racing, that makes so much more sense, actually.
And we've got the coordinates on there too. Love a shoe with a good pair of coordinates there.
Have you looked up these coordinates? Do you know where these ones are? I mean, I assume it's their headquarters. I won't say where they are because I'll let our viewers investigate on this.
I think it's the Bainbridge Island, Washington area, if I had to guess.
I hope it's just somewhere random, like they just picked a spot.
It is in the USA. We got the USA flag on there, so we know it's American.
Okay. All right. Okay. There's a lot going on here. I'm not gonna dive too far into it.
I want to ask you one thing. So you say that this is one of maybe the more controversial shoe reviews we've ever done because it's such a concept shoe. Are there any other shoes that come to mind that are on your Mount Rushmore of like concept shoes, like far out shoes out there that remind you when you're thinking of the Naked shoe?
Ooh, I would have to really think hard. I mean, there was the Solomon S-Lab Sense 7 soft ground. I think that's the one. It had the full knit ankle.
Such a great reference.
That's kind of the first shoe that came to mind, just with like kind of the look and minimal style. So that was I think there was some influence there, because there are some similarities. So that's the Naked TR. Little disclaimer: these shoes were provided to us by Naked, but we're under no financial obligation to say whether we like a product or not, because we want to keep these reviews authentic and beneficial for you. Nobody will get to review or watch this footage before it gets published to YouTube. Moving on to some shoe stats. So when I was finalizing the stats this morning, the price, originally the shoe launched for $285. And I chalked a lot of that up to being like small company, not making too many. It's a boutique shoe.
Yep.
I get it. But when I went on the website this morning, as of February 7th, 2023, the shoe is listed for $180. That's a much more palatable price.
180, and also, I mean, there's more. So you can do the 4 interest-free installment payments. I also see the after-pay option where you can pay $16.25 a month for X number of months to finance as well.
But wait, there's more. We'll throw in a shoehorn for only
Billy Mays here.
12 payments of $16.95. Free shipping if you call now. Interesting. Okay, so you can really price this thing out if you want.
Yes.
I went down a half size, so my pair is a size 9.5. It came in at 9.6 ounces, so definitely on the lighter side. We're looking 21 millimeters of stack in the forefoot, 26 in the heel for a 5 millimeter drop. So I guess on the slightly lower to the ground side by today's shoe standards. Going into the materials, so as people might be noticing, there are no laces on the shoe. This is a laceless trail racing shoe. I repeat, there are no laces. The whole white part of the upper is a one piece. It's a bonded TPU ripstop nylon, so there's like an internal plastic cage. I'll try and add some additional footage, see if we can get that through with some lighting. But
yeah, is that the agility cage, Brett?
Yes. So while there is the whole ripstop upper, underneath it is some additional paneling just to give it more structure, more stability, more lockdown. The whole actual top of the tongue and around the heel, it's a knit material. So it's a knit ankle collar, knit a tongue. I guess where the tongue would be, there is no tongue, but for lack of better terminology, the tongue of the shoe is also knit. But there is a really thin, kind of almost stretchy plastic overlay that's welded all the way around the shoe. There is a, there's a plastic heel collar that's not full rigid plastic. It's actually got a little bit of pliability to it. It's like just enough. And then on the inside of the shoe, there's two little pods of foam that go on the left and right side of the Achilles to kind of further provide lockdown, because there is no foam like on the shoe. There's no foam on the tongue. There's no foam around the ankle collar. There's just two little pods of foam around the side. The last bit of the upper that's actually kind of worth noting is their liner lock insole.
Yep.
So it's interesting because it's an insole that's apparently made out of a slightly grippier material, which I noticed, and it is stitched into the shoe. So if you've ever had any Solomon S-Lab shoes, you'll perhaps have noticed that the insole is stitched into the shoe. So it doesn't come out, it does not move, and I liked it. We'll go into that a little bit deeper. The midsole it's a compressed EVA midsole, so it's like pretty traditional foam.
Why do you think they stitched that in, Brett? What do you think their rationale was there?
I think it was because when you're running very technical terrain aggressively, it's actually not that hard to fold over an insole. And if you want it to not fold over, you have to build it up, make it thicker, make it stiffer. So this still stays pretty soft. It's probably very thin, but then because it's stitched in, you just eliminate that risk of it moving. The downside is you can't take it out. So if you wear like an orthotic or some sort of aftermarket insole, like you just have to lay it in over the top, and then good freaking luck with that. So we've got our EVA midsole, and then there is a carbon fiber plate in the shoe. At $285, I was like, okay, yeah, that's why it costs $285. At $180, now this is one of the cheapest. Is this the cheapest carbon plated trail shoe on the market now? Did it totally just like we just switcherooed it?
We got our YouTube title, by the way.
Yeah. So this is did not see that coming. This is the cheapest carbon plated trail shoe on the market now. The outsole is Vibram light base, mega grip rubber, 4 millimeter 4-foot lugs, 2 millimeter arch lugs, 5 millimeter heel lugs. I feel like I don't see the actual benefit to having all the different sized lugs, especially when they're this close together. Like the whole thing could have just been 4 millimeter lugs, and I feel like I would have never noticed, but it's not really here nor there. Yeah, they are spaced relatively close together because Naked said this is your kind of dry technical terrain type shoe. So we didn't need a whole bunch of anti-clog mud clearing technology, but instead it makes the shoe actually run pretty smooth on even hard packed, even a little bit of road surface. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Finn, testing mileage. What'd you get?
15 miles. 15 miles with 1.5. I'm both ashamed but proud to admit that. And I will also say I only ran in this shoe one time. Of those 15 miles, 12 were walking the immediate streets around my house. It was such a brutal fit on my foot. I didn't want to get caught driving out to a trailhead, getting on the trail, having to turn around and swap out shoes. I wanted to be in like a near zone around my house in case there was failure and I needed to head back. So
what size do you have? Did you get?
I have a men's 11, which was it was recommended by the company. I'm normally a size 12 in most shoes. I was encouraged to size down, so I wore an 11 in this case.
Okay. And I went down a half size to a 9.5. Once you actually got the shoe on your foot, from a length standpoint, did 11 seem correct? Like just 11, purely length?
11 did seem correct. Where I ran into issues was sort of this bubbling up of the material in all the worst places, like a creasing, a folding of the material that was causing chafing issues, all in the forefoot, all in the heel, all in the arches. So
Okay.
that was the issue for me. And then there was also just the issue of the experience of getting my foot into the shoe with the shoehorn that they provided. That was incredibly traumatizing to me, is what I would say.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we'll dive into that.
Sorry, I came in hot there. By the way, I love Naked. Like, I think Naked stuff is awesome. Like, what they do for the trail community, amazing. This shoe just didn't work for me.
Yeah. So I got in 83 miles on this shoe, and I will say about 60 of them were forced, where I was just wearing the shoe simply for the sake of, we got to get this review in, got to test it. And I wanted to love this shoe so bad because there's some bits and pieces. There's some pieces of the shoe that I think are some of the best I've ever worn.
100%.
And there's also some pieces that are like the worst I've ever worn, which was such a bummer because this shoe is like almost very special. Like it would have landed on my Mount Rushmore of shoes, except it climbed the wrong mountain and just ended up in a whole nother country.
I want to say one good thing that so you mentioned earlier the plastic heel collar concept with the foam pads built in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you. I actually loved that. And if there was another shoe out there that fit me, I would love to have this concept implemented because it just worked. I loved the lock-in. It was actually like these foam pads were actually incredibly comfortable. It was the amount of foam that I wanted. So yeah. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. And I think had this shoe just had a traditional lacing structure, but kept everything else as is, I think the upper would be a lot better. But I also understand like the whole point of like Naked as a brand is like minimal simplicity.
Yep.
So I get why they went no laces, but I don't think it worked quite the way that it's supposed to. So in terms of like the fit for me, I have a slightly narrower, slightly lower volume foot, and I struggled to get this shoe on. You absolutely do need the shoehorn, the supplied shoehorn. I'm gonna go to a video of me putting the shoe on like right now, just while we talk about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it was just tough because the shoe is as if it's tied pretty tight, and you're putting on a shoe that's tied pretty tight. If it was easier to put on, it wouldn't work once it was on because then you'd basically be running in an untied shoe. So I get why it's so difficult to put on, but at the same time, it's way too difficult to put on. And then like I would dread knowing I'm going to run in it because of how hard it was to put on. Once it was on my foot though, it was like a perfect fit, which then leads me to know for almost everyone else, it's going to be too tight because again, not having laces, you don't get to adjust the tightness of the shoe. Like if you have a higher volume foot, you're just going to stretch this tongue part a little bit more, and it doesn't have that much stretch. So the shoe's just going to be tight. And like, I imagine that's probably what you ran into once you put the shoe on, right?
100%. And can you talk about the heat buildup too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I've definitely got that written down. So yeah, getting the shoe on stuff. I took the shoe off mid trail run because I wanted to try and just like real world scenario. I kick something into my shoe. I need to change my socks or something, put the shoe back on. I don't have the shoehorn with me. I was like full on seated on the side of the trail, like butts getting wet because I'm just like sitting in the mud, wrestling to get this shoe on because I thought that I could like flamingo it standing on one foot and try and get the other one. But like I had to clamp down on the little heel tabs with as much force as possible to try and yank my shoe back in, and like damn near went into a full quad cramp trying to slide my foot into the shoe. So like the upper just made the shoe so difficult. And then the other problem that I ran into is where the upper connects the two pieces there's a giant seam that goes right along the back of the heel, and it just shredded my socks.
Yes.
Like I only ended up wearing like socks that I didn't love that much because the fabric would just get so pilly around there. So I like was like, I'm not using my good socks because it was just shredding them. So like I just had a lot of issues with this upper, but I loved the midsole and outsole feel. You know, I really liked the firmness of this EVA, and the grip of the outsole was like spot on. Like I loved this lug pattern. I really liked the depth of the lugs. It's got a little bit of rocker shape to it. And then because it's got that carbon plate, it does provide a nice little snap. So just running in the shoe, it just, you know, moved along just fine. And hot take number 2, on top of being like the cheapest carbon plated trail shoe on the market now, this is actually my favorite utilization of a carbon plate in a trail shoe. And I've worn the
How come?
because it's got the right amount of stiffness and right amount of flex, and like how it's paired with this EVA midsole. It just it hit the Goldilocks spot, because like the Craft CTM Ultra Carbon, even the Nike Ultra Fly, which I've run a good amount in, the Hoka Tecton X, they're all a little bit too stiff for true technical running. The only other carbon shoe that is okay for technical running is the Speedland, and I've run in the SLPDX, their first model. But I didn't think that carbon plate had enough pop in the other direction to make it fun while running flat like dirt roads. This one has it molds to the trail when I'm running technical stuff. So like it's like impossible to roll an ankle in this shoe. The lockdown, the stability, like I feel so fast in this shoe. But the upper just disabled my abilities to run like over an hour. And when we were down commentating Bandera,
Yeah.
I brought this shoe with me, and we ran 3 hours over in the South Mountain area, and it was so fun for the first hour. And then my feet started to hurt. Like the laceless part started to crinkle inward, and the upper started to crinkle inward. My feet were just kind of pissed for the last 2 hours. But the technicality of the trails made the shoe really fun. So like it was so close.
I wanted to ask you one more question about the carbon plate technology, because we had been talking offline a few weeks back about whether carbon plate shoes make sense in the trail scene. With the way that Naked has incorporated that technology into this shoe, does it make you reevaluate carbon technology's place in our sport?
A little bit. I still do wonder though, like what if this was a nylon plate? Would it check the same boxes? Like I really think the true essence of carbon fiber is its stiffness to weight ratio, which translates to the roads and big old fat super shoes. While yes, I believe this was the best utilization of a carbon fiber plate in a trail shoe, I'm still not sure if it needed to be carbon fiber. And that's just something I have yet to see a shoe company throw out there. We've actually got some Solomon shoes in for tests, like the Pulsar Trail Pro 2. Theirs is like a fiberglass winged plate. That keeps the price of the shoe way down. So I think Solomon might actually be one of the first companies to like out carbon with a different material. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk more about that later.
Right on.
The one thing that you had brought up as well, that was like my last issue with the upper, was breathability. I noticed it on like my very first run, because I got this pair a little bit earlier than you. So like I got to do some runs during the summer, and I noticed after like 30 minutes, when it was like 80 degrees out, my feet were completely drenched in my own sweat, because this shoe, it's kind of like there's some ventilation holes across the top and on the side, but it was basically the equivalent of like you putting yourself in a trash bag and then sticking like 6 straws through the bag and calling that breathing. Like that was kind of the breathability equivalent for this shoe. So it just turned into a sauna. So the only time my feet were comfortable running in the shoe was when it was about 30 degrees or colder.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Which is
Um,
interesting because they want this to be used in like dry trail settings.
yeah, so that kind of leads to like what Naked designed the shoe for, and does it hold true? So like they called this their technical trail racer for dry technical trail. Midsole, outsole, they 100% nailed it. So good. One of my favorite ever. Upper, way too hot. Like just from a breathability standpoint, like way too hot. I couldn't wear this. Like I brought it to Phoenix because I wanted to really see. And like my feet got so wet and damp inside the shoe that I started to blister on the balls of my feet after about an hour and a half. And then yeah, like it was tough. Like I did it, but that I needed to realize that I wouldn't be able to race in this shoe on a dry technical course unless it was also very cold out.
I want to say one more thing I liked about the shoe before we move on, and that is I think that this shoe actually genuinely has sex appeal. Like we've reviewed a lot of Hoka's in the past. Those shoes, in my opinion, don't. I actually like the design of this shoe. I like the colors. I love the black on yellow on white. I love just the design. It looks great to me. I think it's a great
It's got a good
shoe.
silhouette. And like I think it's been an episode or two since we got back to our car analogies. This is like the F1 car of trail shoes. So
Yes.
like it's light, it's fast, it's very hot, it's very difficult to get into. It is it has lots of carbon fiber. It's good for like it can do one thing really well, but it's like not comfortable. My other analogy that's not anymore is it used to be very expensive, but now it's actually a little bit more reasonably priced. But still, I still think holds up to my F1 car. And the other thing is like, even if you do have it, there's not a lot of use cases where you might actually pull it out. Just like an F1 car, like you're not going to drive your F1 car to the grocery store. So from a value standpoint, now being $180, what do you think?
I'm still not buying it.
I think because of the upper, it's really hard to recommend. What I will say though is that I think Naked is onto something, and I would love to see a second generation of this shoe.
Yes.
So I think where your money goes when you buy this shoe is you are supporting the innovation of a small brand getting into the shoe company. And I think that's where this kind of new crop of boutique shoes with like Naked, Norda, Speedland, they are trying to hone in on doing one thing very, very well. And for limited runs of these shoes, they can't make 500,000 pairs of the shoe. Like that's going to make the shoe more expensive. But what you are paying for is you are supporting a small brand that is trying to break into a very competitive market, and they are taking the risks to do something new and fun and exciting. And I think that is where the value comes from. And if you want to see more of this, that's where you need to support a company like Naked and their first generation of the Naked TR.
And they've always been on the forefront of innovation in our sport. You think about the belts that they've put together, the packs that they have. I would encourage folks to look at the packs that they've put together. This shoe is just, further cements their reputation as taking risks and trying to advance design in the sport, et cetera. I fully agree with what you said. It's a personal tragedy that I just couldn't relate to the shoe. I couldn't fit into this shoe. It didn't work for me. But like you, I would love a chance to test out a V2 of this because at the end of the day, I love when people are in the arena taking shots and making us think about what's possible. And this was a thought provoker.
Yep, we need this kind of disruption in the industry. But let us know in the comments. Have you run in this shoe? Have you taken it in any places that we didn't? Like, is there anything that we missed? Let us know what you think. We want to have that conversation with you. So, thanks for making it this far. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one.